All right, last clip of the night, and then we're going to call it. Let's listen to it.
Governor Pence just said that Donald Trump will rebuild the military. No, he won't. Donald Trump is avoiding paying taxes. The New York Times story, and we need to get this, but the New York Times story suggested that he probably didn't pay taxes for about 18 years starting in 1995. Those years included the years of 9/11. So get this. On 9/11, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's hometown was attacked by the worst terrorist attack in history. Went to Washington to get funds to rebuild her city and protect first responders. But Donald Trump was fighting a very different fight. It was a fight to avoid paying taxes so that he wouldn't support the fight against terror. He wouldn't support troops. He wouldn't support. This is important, Elaine. When a guy running for president will not support the troops, not support veterans, not support teachers, that's really important. And I said about Aleppo, we do agree. The notion is we have to create a humanitarian zone in North.
All right, enough of that. All right. So there's a lot of things in there, but okay. So one, do you care? I personally do for a lot of reasons, right? But I want to know your opinion. Do you care that Donald Trump potentially paid no taxes, legitimately using a write down of almost nearly $1 billion of loss? And with that much loss, he could spread it over the next 18 years and essentially paid no taxes for 18 years. Is that a sign to you, in addition to all of his tax policies and positions, is that a problem? Do you see that as a problem for tax policy going forward? Brandon and then Hank.
Irrespective of his own personal his own tax-paying history, his tax policy is a problem to me. So regardless of that, in terms of him not paying taxes for the past 20 years, I think Donald Trump made a good point about Clinton and Kane, in the sense that if they had a problem with these kinds of loopholes existing, they could have worked to close them over the past 30 years, or however long Clinton's actually been in government and Kane have been in government. So it seems as though that is a fair point to make, that they don't care about these loopholes as they exist up until it becomes politically expedient to bring them up. Or either to condemn someone for not paying their taxes, or to toed out as some sort of tax reform. Quickly, that ultimately, I don't believe that career politicians, pay their taxes out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
I believe they pay their taxes in order so that they can pass these background checks.
Yep.
I believe that paying your taxes as a politician, paying them legitimately, or rather as legitimate as possible, is an investment in making more money in the future. So you pay, 35%, or they keep them low in general. You pay 25% on your $10 million, so then eventually you can pay 25% on $100 million. And you'd have to be dumb not to make that investment. So I don't really hold them to that standard.
Yeah, I actually agree with that a lot. Hank, well, what say ye, Hank?
Yeah, I think I agreed with everything that Brandon just said, but I wasn't surprised that Trump did about Trump's taxes or Pence's for that matter either. I mean, if you're hiding it, you're hiding it for a reason. There's only really one reason why you would, because it's just a tradition. Now, regarding this tax plan and just tax plans in general, I think that it is concerning. I think it is concerning for taxes in the future, and I think that Clinton's tax plan would have been much more conservative than it already is if she hadn't had to gone up against Bernie
Sanders. Yeah.
I think that just the fact that we have even a GOP nominee or a GOP frontrunner. He's not a frontrunner. He's already won the primary. What am I talking about? We have the GOP candidate, and his tax plan, like I said before, is 4 pages long. And I think that's record. I think that's a record low number of pages, and just the ridiculous stuff that goes into it. Like, I think one part said that if you make under a certain amount of money, you don't pay any taxes, and you send a slip in that says "I win" or something like that. It's just goofy stuff, and it's turning more into more of a game than paying taxes towards something that's gonna in the end turn around and come back to help you in the future.
Yep. My takeaway from that was actually this. I sure as hell would write off every single dime I possibly could. If I could get 10 years tax free, I would do it. and I'm a progressive. So here's a question I have for progressives. Everyone who is, and the reason I ask this is because I remember asking when I was a teacher in another life, a past regeneration, I was a teacher, and I asked my class of predominantly black students who all, we were in an impoverished neighborhood. We didn't even have books. And so we were talking about getting money. And then I asked them all the question, once you get your money, are you willing to pay taxes to help somebody else get theirs? And 90% of the class said, hell no, basically. So here's my question for progressives. Once you get to a certain level of income, would you pass up on deductions just for the sake of, quote unquote, helping somebody else out? Now, this is a self-reflection question, and I don't know if I should ask, I don't know if you guys feel free to answer it. You don't have to answer it, but I'm just going to tell you the truth. If I could write it off, I'm going to write it off. And I consider myself to be a hell of a progressive, but why would I pass up on deductions that are sitting there waiting for me, for one? Then two, completely separate, like you said, Brandon, from my personal taxes is tax policy. And tax policy is a statement of what's important to you, and a statement of your morality, in my opinion. That's totally different. You can, if the tax code says I can write it off, write it off. But if you're presenting a policy that says that we want to amalgamate all of this wealth to the top and do so by gutting all of these programs, well, that's a totally different statement than saying I'm going to write off $1 billion over 18 years, in my opinion. So here's a question, last question of the night. If you could write off 960, if you could get 18 years tax free, would you take it? Brandon and then Hank.
You're going to be mad at me because, well, three parts. First of all, I just want to say that taxing and expenditures are not necessarily one-to-one linked. So you can spend more money at the government without taxing more. So those two things don't have to be made inextricably one-to-one. Mm-hmm. Two, I actually did pay extra taxes back when I was a teacher too. When I was a funded graduate student, a TA, guest lecturer, stuff like that. The SUNY system has, or working for the state government of New York, has a system, a three different tax system. You can choose your plan rather, and the final system is, I would call Plan C, is that you pay extra taxes up front rather, but it makes your filings easier, and you're guaranteed to get more money back as opposed to having other problems. So I chose Plan C. I chose to pay a little bit extra taxes at the time.
What you paid?
I felt that it would make.
But let me make sure I'm hearing you right. Did you say you paid it at the time, but you ended up getting it back on the back end because you probably paid too much up front?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah, but ultimately, at the end of the year, you still got a refund, right? So I'm talking. Let's up your income. Let's move you out of the teacher bracket. Let's put you into the CEO bracket, and you made $19 million. And you're in the for Hillary? You'll be at like a 39% tax rate with Hillary Clinton. If you had a way to write off all of that, would you write it off, or would you say I'm going to voluntarily not take this deduction so I can be patriotic and give the government $1 million in taxes this year?
From my perspective, I don't need that much money. I feel this is going to sound like a cop out because I don't have that much money, so I can't speak to like myself personally. But I live a pretty frugal life even when I do have money. And from my perspective, the desire to hoard money that way is a mental illness. There's like the desire to just have money sitting around that you're never going to use for anything, or rather you're going to use to buy more of things that accomplish the same goal. So buy 12 TVs, buy 12 cars, whatever. That's a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Like if you had anything else that was not money. So obviously, United States Western culture makes monetary wealth inextricable from moral value.
Yeah,
it's the most moral thing you can do to make the most money as possible. That's the thing we do. It seems okay, but but in my head, I'm like, I don't need that much money. What am I going to do with this?
Okay, Hank, what say you, Hank?
I think from my perspective, where I am in the economic ladder, I think that I would pay my taxes. I would pay more taxes just because I know that on the surface, at least, taxes are supposed to be funding the best things in our country, the schools, the public transit systems, all those things. In reality, though, it doesn't, and I think that's why people are reluctant to pay more taxes or any taxes if they have to. I think that if everybody could trust everybody or could have the feeling of trust, people would, but people just don't. Down on the bottom, people know that they're supposed to be getting money back in taxes in terms of public services and that sort of things and public projects. But they know that it's going up to the top, and then you have the people on the top who have all of the money already and are completely separated from the rest of society, and all they know is that they have money, but they don't have enough money, and they know that they're already getting a lot of that money, but they could be getting a little bit more. So I think that it all just depends on your perspective, where you come from. I think that I wouldn't take the deduction, just knowing that I feel good when I'm helping somebody out potentially by funding those services.
All right, I'm gonna leave you guys alone, and I'll say it like this, right? You know, before you actually get money, if you're coming from like the working class, like I did, like my family, I grew up in the working class, pretty poor, right? We weren't in poverty, but we were pretty poor. The next step out of that is like the middle class and then the upper middle class. Once you get into the middle class and the upper middle class and you're an adult and you have kids and your money is going out the window, like my money goes out the window to childcare, and then at the end of the year you still owe the government money, like you have nothing to show for it and you owe the government money. Man, my ass is in there looking at every single line item, trying to find every deduction I can get. So from my perspective right now today, I'm taking every single deduction I can get. Now, if I happen to have enough money to just sit on after I pay my taxes, then by all means, my perspective will probably change. But right now, today, I got to write a check to the IRS tomorrow before I'm late.
The only tax I'm paying is sales tax, so who knows? When I start paying the taxpayer for real, my opinion might change. Who knows?
I mean, well, when I have a family I'm supporting, I'm sure I'll feel more inclined I will feel more responsible to my family, my children, my wife, my cat, my dog, to providing them with a better life. And I will be more responsible than any general Joe Schmo on the street. But for right now, I don't have that.
Yeah.
So most of my money is going to be spent on, dating. So my money is dating and rent and food. That's where my money goes to. So I realize that I'm frivolous. I would say that because our tax dollars don't go one-to-one to stuff like schools or one-to-one to stuff like hospitals, I would be inclined to donate a lot more to offset my taxes that way. To give to a lot more charities like, Médecins Sans Frontières or
good point.
Red Cross or whatever, my local schools, but so just so I can offset, giving 57% of every dollar I give to the military. But
yeah, for real. I'm with that.
Those responsibilities. So I'm not really weighing my money I spend in taxes versus money I can use to, not even just feed my kids, but just, buy my kids a PS4. Yeah. I have a PS4, so it's.
Yeah. No, it was a big deal when I actually I was like, dang, I have some extra money here. Let me go buy my son something he actually wants versus just sending all of my sharecropping out to childcare for $20,000 a year. So that's just that kind of thing that it changes as you get a little bit older. But hopefully what I'm doing anyway, too much information. But hopefully I'm gonna have enough money left over next year to actually be like, okay, here you go, government, take your 35% because I'm happy with all this that I have left. So it's all about perspective. Huh? No, it's definitely ain't coming. Listen, I want to thank my patrons, but my patrons, if you're a patron, you already know what I'm talking about because I told you guys about this thing I'm doing now, this new career that I'm doing now. But anyway, I digress. Good night, folks. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I want to give you guys, just tell everybody your Twitter handle real quick. And before I do that, I got to say this, Brandon. Brandon, you remind me of Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager. I don't know if you ever. I don't know if you ever.
I just said Tupac, and I was like, I look nothing like Tupac.
Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager, except you have a much better haircut. Please don't ever get that haircut that Tuvok has. All right, Hank, tell everybody your Twitter handle and how they can get up with you, Hank.
My Twitter is Hank Jurosik now, and that's impossible to just spell off the bat. So HankJirousek.
Follow that
Probably
young
the
man.
best way to get a hold of me, unless you want to try to find me on Facebook. So.
All right, and Brandon, go ahead and get that last thing in and tell everybody how to get up with you.
Okay, my My Twitter handle is hard to pronounce and spell off the bat, but I also write for projects. I mean, I write for the progressivearmy.com. So if you really want to know my Twitter handle, go and check out my articles on there.
Yep.
I have one coming out about Luke Cage soon, so
I did a review of Luke Cage for the bonus show last night, and it's actually I liked it so much I think I might actually share that bonus show with everyone. So let's compare notes on Luke Cage. I'd love to know what you said about it. All right, folks, have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.